This is outlook for GDP, global outlook for GDP. White is not growing. Anything above white is growing. Really dark, India, growing very quickly. So the heat map is positive. I think we have it here. However, a lot of folks are saying, new momentum, 3.4% growth. Some people are saying, it's kind of slow growth another year, right? Some media pundits are saying one thing, some are saying the other. Again, this is the wonder of outliers. We talked about populist movements everywhere and what that's doing. Again, the challenge is when the populist movements win, which they did here, they did the outcomes that they're going for aren't really beneficial outcomes. Globalization has been good. It has hurt people. It has been good on average. There have been people that have suffered from it. And whatever country you're in, if you're an exporting country, they have not done a good job of helping those people that suffered from it improve their lot. Right? So that's what we see as we see the backlash to this. But this is not a populist economics doesn't work. Estimated earnings growth. So we are seeing an increase in expectations for earnings. Look at this energy shift, 2016 to 2017. So this is falling price of oil. This is stable and potentially increasing price of oil. That's it. That is the effect on earnings. When we had this in 2016, that's a 75.8% reduction in the contribution of oil company earnings or energy company earnings to the S&P earnings as a total. That's why we had an earnings recession. That was about 2/3 of the earnings recession. Another 1/3 is the strong dollar. And energy is kind of stabilizing, is moving higher. The dollar dropped for a bit and then came right back up. So Trump's talk and raising the rates, and that has strengthened the dollar. So if the dollar stabilizes, we're good. If the dollar comes down, we're great. If the dollar continues to creep up, which long-term doesn't seem to make any sense, but if it does that, then it's more difficulty for earnings. So this is a lot of different folks in their prognostications. These go from up 2% to up 13%. I wonder if they're being aggressive enough. So different people think of different things, right? Markets are betting on the best possible developments in fundamentals. It's not positive for risky assets to have an economy generating rising inflation while being constrained by low to mediocre growth. All right. Only thing I'm worried about is that it seems like nobody's worried about anything. You look what he does, though. Vice President of Trading and Derivatives. So that means fewer people are trading derivatives, so his bonus is lower. So that's what he's worried about. He wants people to hedge. Okay. Bond market. So we talked about a little bit earlier. Is this a shift to the long-term bond bear market? I don't know, but there's not a lot of, it's not going to pay you a lot. Bonds aren't going to give you a lot of return. There's some benefit for yield. Like if you do credit, not duration, if you bought corporate bonds, you can get some high yield bonds are paying some pretty good yield. More risk involved, right? That's how you get better return in bond markets. You take on a little risk. I'd keep it short.
For retirement, is it still just a good balancer?
Yeah, you have to have it for balance. So most folks here know that about 5-6 years ago, when we altered our portfolios to include, I was very early to being worried about bonds. I should have waited. We'd have made more money, but I didn't. So we carved out a portion of our portfolios and we did alternatives. So we had global long-short credit, and we had merger arbitrage, and we had some things that do 2, 3, 4, 5% returns that don't have equity risk, but don't have bond market risk either. So there's a way to defend a portfolio without fixed income, not completely, because any one of those categories, one manager in any of those categories can have a horrific year. So you have to really diversify across those alternative categories to protect yourself from the alternative categories that are protecting yourself from the fixed income market that's supposed to be protecting you from equity volatility, right? So I guess that's the fourth derivative of protection. Okay, consumer confidence. This is enormously positive for small business starts, and let's hope. Let's hope we see more hiring. Let's hope that confidence carries through. If there's one thing that's been missing in the entire boost the stability since Obama was elected, it's confidence. I mean, business people have not been confident. I've got a buddy who owns a retail store in Concord, and the stories he tells about every little thing he has to do when he changes a light bulb or changes a fixture, or someone threw a rock through the window, and to get that window replaced, the steps he has to go through, the regulatory environment in Concord, California is ridiculous. You should be able to replace the window. It shouldn't be, I got to get a permit, I got to have someone come out and check it out, and they're going to look at my electrical system to see if I can replace the glass in my front window that someone threw a brick through. It's some of that's dumb, and some of that causes people that want to start a business to not do it. It's not all dumb, right? So we can get rid of some of it, make it better. That's what this confidence and some of these policies are for, I think. Investor sentiment, that's potentially scary, actually. Right? So we're talking about how it's been bouncing, and then it shoots up here. This is Trump being elected. Investors are now all of a sudden very excited. Usually we see a big boost in investor confidence. That's not necessarily a good sign, right? Investors in large, not always making the right bets at the right time. Anyone read this before or heard this? Bull markets are born on pessimism, grow on skepticism, mature on optimism, and die on euphoria. So we are nowhere near pessimism or euphoria. We're somewhere in the middle, which is a place where we don't know what's going to happen next. We sort of have to be cautiously optimistic. We sort of have to think things through, be very rational about our portfolio designs. But it doesn't matter how you feel about it. We want to help you pursue your life's passions. And it isn't about the markets. It's not about Trump. It's not about those specifics. It's about a life and a plan. The unique thing is, Trump's being elected, and wow. The end of November, everyone that came in our office was in tears. Nancy came in the office the next day in tears. I had a buddy someone called in. It's him and an assistant. His assistant called him up and said, I don't think I'm coming to work this week. It was terror about what might happen, and unknown, and fears, and there's social reasons, there's things we should be concerned about. The economy is not one of them. If you have a plan, you're not speculating on what's happening next, this next 10 minutes, this next 6 months, this next year. You're thinking about what's happening over the next 15, 20 years, retirement income. You're not thinking about, Trump can do nothing to that, literally nothing to that. It's going to be a blip. We're going to look back on it, and we're going to be like, nah. Again, there are some things he can just strike a pen and change. Right? Those aren't massive economic things. They're not budget things. They're not. He can't do those things. He needs Congress. He needs other actions that lay something on his desk and have him do it. And I honestly, when I think about him, I'm getting such the you've got to end now looks from everybody. I don't think he cares about half of the things he said during his campaign. I don't think he does. I think he wants to be perceived as a business person. He wants to be perceived as successful. And I think that if we understand the narcissism, he's not going to do something that gives him a bad image 10 years from now. He is going to make it easier for business. That's going to help our portfolios. I don't know how he's going to do that yet. I'm paying close attention, but I don't think he's going to do damage to our portfolios or our economy, because that's how he's going to be remembered. He has nothing social redeeming about him at all. So the thing he can be remembered positively for is growth and innovation. That's where he's going to focus. He's got a lot of other people that he's bringing in, and they're disasters left and right. The big things that affect us and this, they're going to be positives, right? So you go do the march, you worry about the social things, you take your extra tax money that you're going to not pay, and you support organizations, go to the NAACP, support your local homeless shelter, do those kinds of things. Because I think that's, A, where a lot of value comes from for us, in just humanity and our own happiness. B, it's also that's what we can do, right?